all the polls today are indicating that the government is back in town. Have you turned the corner?
I think we've had a good several months now, and it's just been a good policy process. I mean, you work hard on the policy, you correct issues from the past, and you communicate clearly about what you're trying to do, and people, I think, are getting that message, and that's encouraging, and we'll keep on doing it.
Well, you've been the front man. You're doing?
No, it's a team. I mean, I did the curtain raiser, Joe did the main event. That's how it was designed. That's how we were seeking to do.
You've been out there a lot more than most in the past couple of months.
Well, I have, because we've been explaining some big changes for the Jobs for Families package, which is giving families more choice. We've had the pension changes, which were also very significant, and I think they've required a lot of explanation, and I think people have responded to those quite well. So, you need to articulate why you're making changes, and that's what we've been doing.
So can you smell an early election?
No, I can't. No, I can't, not at all. Because there's so much more work to be done. There's another budget to come after this, and because there's more work to be done on the fiscal job. But equally, I mean, this morning I was launching a families conference, and the work we're doing there in addressing domestic violence and children at risk, and we've got a lot of exciting programs which we think can make a difference there.
Is a person double dipping on paid parental leave, as has been described? Are they rorting the system?
Well, I think the system itself is the problem, not the individuals, and that's the point I was.
Them of rorting?
No, I haven't actually. No, my problem is with the system that was set up by Labor and the unions that allows this to happen. What is happening right now is people can get full pay, paid parental leave, say 14 weeks, 16 weeks, and at exactly the same time be drawing down a paid parental leave payment from the taxpayer. So they get a top up on top of their full wage. And now, if you're on a small business and you're working there and you get just the basic scheme, you're getting the minimum wage. But someone who's working for the public sector, who may be getting paid exactly the same as you, is getting paid 2-3 times what you are to spend the same time with your children. Now, that is a system which seems to be not fair to me, and I think it needs to change.
You haven't used the word rort, haven't you?
I have used that word rort in relation to the scheme itself, not to those who are using it. And I think there's a clear distinction. And I think this system needs to change because I don't think it's fair. What we have seen from the evaluation work done by the previous government, which is carried on under our government, is that the introduction of these arrangements, which allows people to receive 2 payments at the same time, is not leading to people spending longer beyond 18 weeks at home with their children. So people are taking the paid parental leave payment from the employer, usually the public sector, and then at the same time taking a top-up payment. It's a bit like a baby bonus for those who have employer-sponsored paid parental leave.
Well, I said it's a bit like being on the dole but having a job.
Well, no, I wouldn't quite put it like that.
No, that's because 2 of your ministers have been caught doing it.
No, I wouldn't put it like that at all. As I said, I have no issue with the people who are using the scheme as it's currently designed. What I have an issue with is the scheme as it is currently designed.
Bit embarrassing, wasn't it, Matthias Cormann and Josh Frydenberg doing it? Because the language was pretty tough about rorts and frauds and things.
Well, again, I was talking about the scheme and not about those who are using it, and that's why we need to change the scheme. And we changed the scheme. Look, it was a difficult issue to manage last week, but what we can't do, Neil, is get distracted by what the change is necessary. Now, if anyone thinks it's fair for someone to pull down a payment from the taxpayer while at exactly the same time they're pulling down an even bigger payment from a big employer, and it's not just the public service, it's all the big banks and Coles and Woolies and all the rest of it. If they think that people should be getting paid 3 times to spend time at home with their kids as someone in a small business or doesn't have those schemes when they're probably getting paid exactly the same wage, well, they can explain that. I don't think it's fair.
Well, obviously, Josh Frydenberg and Matthias Cormann and their families thought it was fair.
No, they accessed the scheme as it existed.
Yeah, but you're saying people think they thought it was fair because they used it.
I'm talking about the scheme, not the individuals, and there's a big difference.
Yeah, but any individual who used the scheme was when it was unfair. Didn't think it was unfair.
People will use the scheme that's there, Neil. They'll pay the tax that you have to pay under the tax scheme. Kerry Packer used to say that.
He didn't want to give you any money.
At his famous appearance before that committee which Peter Costello was at, I recall. But, the issue here is what is a fair deal on paid parental leave? Now, if people were actually spending 36 weeks away with their kids because they got the extra 18-week payment from the taxpayer, that'd be different. But that's not what's happening. They're taking the paid parental leave, which they're entitled to do from their employer, but at the same time, they're getting a top-up of $11,500. That's more than twice what the old baby bonus used to be. That's not going to stay-at-home mums. That's not going to people who work for small businesses. That's not going to mums who run their own businesses. They just get the 11.5 grand. They don't get the top-up that is the part of the Labor union deal that we saw with this scheme.
So double dipping is not fraud?
No, of course not.